How about a recap before we get started? On Sharpen My Axe number 5, I received a guitar from a viewer, and during the shipping, the guitar was damaged. The headstock was actually broken. So instead of fixing his old guitar, I decided to get him a brand new identical one. And I said this.
We'll do all the repairs to that guitar, and then we'll donate it. We'll do something with it. We'll maybe help some kid out that wants a good Les Paul.
So now, episode 11, Sharpen My Axe.
This is the guitar that I received, and it got broken and damaged in shipping, and the headstock, of course, is seriously broken. I'm here in Glendale, Arizona to see my buddies Tim and Harry at Atomic Guitars. So just a few miles north of the Glendale Arena is Peoria, Arizona, and that's where Atomic Guitars is. And we're gonna go inside and see Tim and Harry and get this guitar fixed up. Hey guys, I got something for you.
Hey,
what you got? All right, check this out. Okay, so I'm with Tim and Harry from Atomic Guitars, and we're gonna talk about the guitar. So here's what happened. So let me tell you the story. So basically, somebody sent this Epiphone Les Paul through FedEx, and they packed it well, but it was in a gig bag. And ouch! Yeah.
Owie. Okay.
Yeah. So the guys from Graphtech gave us a Graphtech nut. All right. So that should
that'll work. The hardest part about this will probably be the touch-up. Fortunately, it's the best color to do a touch-up on. It's black. I have every color of black in one can. I have midnight black, jet black. This is where we're going to do all the repair work on the Epiphone Les Paul. We do everything in-house. We build guitars. We do it all by hand. We do our own finish work. One of the most common repairs we see on a weekly basis is damaged or broken headstocks or necks.
And this is a Gibson with a broken headstock as well?
This one is a Gibson that had a broken headstock. Can't really see anything in the front. It's in touch-up process right now. The crack is along the edge here. You can see that this is a thinner profile neck. It's a 60s profile. The headstock's back on. I'm holding the guitar by the broken headstock. It's not coming apart. It's stronger than it was originally. And this is something that once I get done touching up, you'll never see it.
The first thing Tim is going to do is remove all the hardware off the headstock. Now, the tuning keys are secured only with two things, the nut and a screw. So he'll take the nut off, flip the guitar over, take the screw out, and that will allow him to take all the tuning keys out. The next thing he'll want to do is remove the truss rod cover to gain access to the truss rod, because this is going to be very important in the first step of fixing the guitar. Next, Tim is going to relieve the truss rod. By inserting an Allen wrench, he can tighten the truss rod and loosen it, and what he's trying to find is where it's perfectly loose, so that way the truss rod's not causing any force on the neck, and that allows him to clamp it and make the neck exactly straight when gluing it. Now that the truss rod's relieved, he's going to start gluing the neck. He's going to use Titebond Glue. It's a wood glue that is water soluble. Now this is important because he wants to be extremely gracious with the glue. In other words, he wants to really put a lot of glue into the cracks, get every kind of spot he can, make sure there's as much area bonding as possible. The glue will dry and be more strong than the wood is. This glue is used by luthiers all around the world. The best part about it, as you can see, is he can wipe the glue off using a napkin or even a wet, damp cloth. It's very easy to clean up and very easy to work with. Now he'll flip the neck over and do the other side. You can see there's glue on the fretboard everywhere, and that's what I'm talking about. See how he's injecting the glue in it and it runs into the crack. So he's filling as much area as possible, and the most important part is he's getting as much contact surface covered with glue, and that's going to help the neck be stronger and bond a lot stronger. And again, very easy to clean up. It's a very easy glue to work with. That's why luthiers use it all around the world. Now he's going to clamp the neck. He's going to use a sanding block. It's a metal sanding block, and the great thing about this is it works just like a splint for a broken leg. The neck is then clamped to the sanding block, which will make the neck perfectly straight. The other nice thing about this using these kind of clamps is he can spread the force across the neck, so there's not too much force that will damage a fret or put too much pressure and dent anything or damage any of the wood. And you can see the glue now, as it's being compressed, the glue is kind of extruding out the sides, and that's all that glue that ran inside there. And again, that just helps the guitar get glue in every spot, and it's very easy to clean up. You can see just using a paper towel, you're going to get most of that glue up. Now Tim will continue to wipe the glue up as it continues to come out of the crack of the neck. This will go on for several minutes, and that's the nice thing I said about the glue, is that it can be wiped up with a paper towel. You don't need any kind of special supplies or anything. It's not hurting anything, because later you'll see he'll use a damp cloth just to wipe up any excess after it dries. A lot of these glues will say set for 24 hours, but Tim uses a couple days. I agree with this method. It's a really good idea, because the longer the better in my opinion. Just let it sit and dry. So after Tim is sure that the glue has dried correctly, he's going to go ahead and just remove the clamps. But now comes kind of the scary part. He's got to check to make sure the glue is holding the way he wants. So what he'll do is he'll put pretty much a really great amount of downward force. You can see he's actually trying to see if he could feel it crack or break to make sure that the glue is dried quickly and it's strong. Like I was saying earlier, he can clean up all the excess glue residue with just a damp cloth. So he's using a paper towel, and that's just spray water. He's just spraying some water on the cloth. He'll get all the excess glue right now.
The interesting thing about this is you might think, that was a really bad break. Is this going to hold up? The answer is yes. The glue is actually stronger than the wood was. The next thing about this is interesting is that it broke in the right direction. Headstock didn't come off. We don't need to do any splints or anything like that, because the string pressure is going to pull from the face of the guitar and actually help pull this close. So we should never have a problem with it.
Now Tim is going to use colored super glue. This is super glue with black dye in it to fill in the chips in the paint. This does nothing to the neck structurally. This isn't to reinforce the neck in any way. This is just to fill in those chips so that he can then sand the neck and make it smooth before priming it and painting it. Now he's going to use a guitar string to work the glue into the little cracks and crevices. Now what he'll use is his airbrush, which has accelerator in it. This accelerator, when sprayed onto the glue, will make the glue dry in seconds. This makes this process a lot faster, since he doesn't know how many times he's going to have to fill in these cracks and then scrape and then sand. Once the glue is dried, he'll go ahead and just use a razor blade to scrape off all the excess to make it smooth. It's a pretty straightforward process.
Things we use to sand this guitar and get it level, it's going to be these neat little flexy 3M block thing. Bends the contours, I can flex it, so that way we get the same shape as the neck. Next thing we use, some wet-dry sandpaper. We want to use it wet, and we want it to be nice, cut really well, so we cut a nice smooth surface. So that's what we use for this part. Now we're just feeling it, make sure we got everything smooth. Get it ready for the booth. So take some masking tape and get it ready for the color. And now we're going to spray a light coat of sealer just to protect everything, make sure the wood's sealed.
First, Tim is going to apply some sealant to the wood to protect it. Then, after it cures and dries, he'll go ahead and blend in and paint the black. Now, he doesn't paint the entire guitar, just the area that has been damaged. So this is really a nice point in the process. You don't have to repaint the entire guitar. Notice how he's staying away from the headstock to not ruin the serial number or the Epiphone Custom Shop logo. Now, he's taped off that area around that. We saw that, so that's all protected. Only the areas that he wants to be painted are going to be painted. After that cures and dries, now he'll put on clear coat. Clear coat is to protect the finish, but not only, as you can see, it helps him blend in the old finish to the new finish, so it makes it seamless. He'll go ahead and spray off the entire neck, and that makes it difficult for anyone to detect where the new finish and old finishes are. After applying the clear coat, he still has to sand. He has to smooth out all of the imperfections in the clear coat where maybe it's a little thicker or thinner. This also lets him blend in the way the guitar feels. Now Tim's going to remove all of the tape so he can go to the last stage, which is buffing. Here he is doing the coarse buffing, going ahead and blending in again the finish to make it look perfect. But now he'll be on the fine buffer wheel and he'll go ahead and buff the finish to a high gloss. This is what's going to make the guitar look brand new. As you can see, he's just coming around and doing the sides. He'll do every spot. He'll do the entire neck, and again, just to make it look like a perfectly new and perfect finish. Now Tim will reinstall the tuning keys back on so he can go to the last stage, which is installing the nut. Now Tim's going to install the nut. Now the nut is a Tusq nut that we got from Graphtech, so it's pre-slotted, but even then it has to be fitted. So he'll have to do a little bit of sanding on the nut to make it right. Now the other thing he'll have to do is make sure he takes a square file and clean out all of the glue, gunk, and anything else that could be obstructing the nut from having 100% contact with the wood. When it comes to installing your nut, you want to make sure that there is 100% contact. You don't want any gaps. You don't want any kind of raises in the finish. You don't want anything to obstruct transferring the vibration into the guitar.
Put the nut on. You don't need a lot of glue, just a couple of small dabs. I like putting them in this little slot right here. And I put 1, 2 on either side and push it on. Hold it there for a minute. That'll set that. Voila, nuts on.
Now the strings are on, it's tuned up, and the neck relief has been set, Tim is going to measure the height across the first fret.
This set of frets is at 37 thousandths. So we'll take our feeler set here. And I like going just a little bit taller, just to make sure that I don't cut it too low. So we're going to take 18 plus 20 is 38. Take up this nice jig here. You can pick that up at you know where. I'm going to set it up against this, and I'm just going to tighten it down so that way it holds it in place for me. Alright, I'm going to take a set of nut files and do the cutting. Now, this is a set of 10 to 46s, so grab the nut file 50 to 60, get those at Stu Mac. Now, how I cut these is I'll actually start at the back first, aim towards the nut, and actually towards the tuning key so it follows a string path. And I'll take long, even swipes. Try to take them in one direction. You can work it back and forth, rock the nut, the cutter just a little bit. And what I'll do is I'll stop. I'll actually cut a little bit deeper on the back side, just like that. Blow off the area, and I'll actually stop when I get to the feeler gauge. And I feel the feeler gauge. All right. So that's now cut the right depth. Just drop the string back on it. It sits right on there, ready to go. Next one will be 36. It's 46, 36, 26. I'm going to cut it with a 36, but I'm going to rock it a little bit back and forth just to make sure the slot's nice and wide enough, but not too sloppy. Same thing. Cut on the back side first. Cut some nice long strokes. Don't work it back and forth, just nice long strokes, a little bit of angle. Just do the back side here. Kind of got to work it back and forth because you don't want to hit the headstock. And touching that feeler gauge. So I'm done. And you just work your way across the board that way. I like taking a soft brush, clean off any of the dust. And I'll check. Hey, nut height. Perfect. Now I'll retune it. And this guitar is ready to rock.
So here she is, and she looks beautiful. I mean, it looks like a brand new custom Epiphone Les Paul. And I want to thank Tim and Harry at Atomic Guitars for that. I told them, I said, look, I want to donate this guitar to somebody that can start their musical journey, but I don't want to give them something that's just kind of like put together or damaged. Let's give them something brand new again. I want to point out also that Tim came in before and after store hours, so not to affect his current customer load. I actually lent him a GoPro camera, and he did all the footage himself too, and that's another thing to point out. That was really nice of him. So he had to do the work and do the footage. So where's the guitar going to go? It's going to the Alice Cooper's Solid Rock Foundation.
They allow kids to get free guitar lessons, bass lessons, even provide space for kids to play music with other kids. And if you would like to help, you can get involved by becoming a sponsor or donate. This is a very, very worthwhile organization, and they're doing a lot to help share music with a lot of youth.
So we're going to give this guitar to them, and I'll do a video later showing that and how you can help them. Episode number 11 of Sharpen My Axe. As promised to you, this guitar is going to go to somebody who can really use it. And until next week, know your gear.